here. This is a collage of...
Oh, I see how that works.
This is a collage of poems from my latest collection, Songs of the Sonic Seahorse. Has anyone ever seen the memory? Did any of my life ever happen? Love can only expand. Has anyone ever seen the memory? Love can only expand. We can't count on numbers forever. Did any of my life ever happen? Love can only expand. The perpetual looping after effects of quantum entanglement and the perpetual looping after effects of these quantum nostalgia blues. They say everything gets better in 20 years after the tears have dried and the pain subsides, if it ever does. If it ever does. I curse and glorify the past. Feel too much, too deep, too fast. Nothing that was will ever last. The good old days feel like a maze, and I'm lost in the age of remembering. I recall Wrigley Field without lights, 5-cent candy bars, 19-cent a gallon gasoline, wars fought for humanitarian reasons, when compromise was strength and a hobo could be your friend. I remember black and white TV with a joyful choice of 3 channels, 15-cent hamburgers, 2 newspapers a day, morning milk delivered to your door, before computers and spying on your neighbors. People only took drugs when they were sick, and drugstores didn't sell cheap booze, aisles of junk food, or Christmas tinsel in October. I recall the Ed Sullivan Show every Sunday, Queen for a Day with applause meter, To Tell the Truth with Kitty Carlisle, Ted Mack's Amateur Hour, when they could still get the hook, I can't lose these nostalgia blues. In the beginning there was milk, wet, warm, and sweet, fresh from the source of human kindness, and the milk was good. Until juice and fruit from trees of the tropics introduced a sweeter exotic temptation. And when the grain of cane arrived, the brain went insane to the store for the many flavors of more. Then every day in the loudest way the kids screamed for ice cream and year-round Halloween. Seemed as even old men drinking like teens can't wean themselves. Still in search of human kindness, still boiling the brain to coddle, still sucking on something sweet and fluid from a bottle. Yet in the beginning it was fresh from the source of human kindness, warm from the source of lightness. I curse and glorify the past. Feel too much, too deep, too fast. Nothing that was will ever last. The good old days feel like a maze, and I'm lost in the age of remembering. I recall when a shot came from a needle, not a bottle or a gun. We dressed up to ride airplanes or watch hockey games, sports stars, earned 5 figures. No one ever heard of a billionaire. My mother hated Elvis, my father loved pickled beets, my older brother was into UFOs, and my younger brother kept on a leash tied to a tree, and no one called the police. Recycling was called the junk business. We only bought antiques when we couldn't afford something new. Suburbia wasn't a dirty word. Baked goods weren't kept in the freezer. Tarzan was my superhero, and dessert came with every meal. I can't lose these nostalgia blues. Now they're killing the dead, singing blood-sucking blues, riding a tidal wave of animal in a cycle of non-stop news. They got shiny silver bullets and pointy Gothic crosses. They got vials of lovers' blood hanging like albatrosses. They got Bible black lipstick and Cracker Jack skull tattoos. They got booby trap bunkers and stockpiles of lifestyle tips to outlast the eclipse of the looming apocalypse. Not a lame game anymore when death knocks on your door. And they're killing the dead, singing blood-sucking blues. Super viruses grow stronger than the strongest kryptonite, while blood grows weaker and the world's in a fever. Seawater rises to a new crisis as fresh water evaporates. Extremes seem to dominate, and the streets just got more dire. Our entire planet dissolves in perfect conflict hellfire. Not fake news anymore. When death knocks on your door, and they're killing the dead, singing blood-sucking blues. The kids find this amusing, as if the joke's on someone else, as if the meek get the last laugh, as if the world they inherit just carved its own epitaph. And all the stardust beauty has suddenly become a mediocre horror movie, twisted into a tribal spiral double helix video game for survival. We're all vampires and zombies, troops of subgroups to abuse, 'cause they're killing the dead, singing blood-sucking blues. Not a blame game anymore when death knocks on your door, and they're killing the dead, singing blood-sucking blues. And they're killing the dead, singing blood-sucking blues. I curse and glorify the past. Feel too much, too deep, too fast. Nothing that was will ever last. Good old days feel like a maze, and I'm lost in the age of remembering. I knew the days before remote control, and power windows and keyless keys, when smoking was so cool they named a cigarette after it. Family dinners and story time and Jiffy Pop in the fireplace, when JFK, RFK, and MLK were gunned down the day Marilyn died and the first man walked on the moon. I remember service with a smile, when the customer was always right and we all said please and thank you, nodded and smiled hello to strangers and opened the door for each other. I can't lose these nostalgia blues. Somewhere in the garage by the archives of Lost and Forlorn resides an art bag of preschool paintings composed when the kids were unself-conscious and prolific. 2 or 3 masterpieces a day for a couple of years. My miniature minimalist Vincent Van Jackson de Kooning's big, bold, brave, joyous, buoyant, reckless, impatient, contagious, audacious brushwork. Sometimes zen, sometimes chaos. Always full of spontaneity and innocent energy before self-criticism, indecision, comparison, judging, grades, and doubt clouded creativity. Always willingly, effusively, intuitively, the kids knew the beauty of art for art's sake. They say everything gets better in 20 years after the tears dry. I remember when all of us were proud of our leaders, And old people thought rock and roll a passing fad. The Beatles a flash in the pan. The lawn was mowed every Sunday, and marijuana the gateway to heroin. I remember when Jimmy, Janis, and Jim Morrison, Mama Cass, Elvis, and Sinatra died. When Andy and Beetle John were shot. When Duchamp, Beckett, Picasso, Dali, Fellini, Hitchcock, and Brando died. I remember when doctors were gods. A payphone call cost a dime. When everyone drank tap water and air quality didn't need warnings. When a large cart full of groceries cost $20 and only the bank could break a $100 bill. Northwest kids don't mind the perpetual drizzle of winter rain. They grow up with wet hair and dry humor, green vision and damp shoulders. They bathe in gray days for weeks, seek forest cedar shelter and wrap themselves in blankets of season change fog. They speak fluent Raven, know where the mushrooms spawn, intuitively sense when orcopods are coming to town. They make friends with coyote, gather plump berries on the path, predict weather in the moss, and laugh at the loop hurry. Forest kids understand the power of the land before white men arrived with their sharp-toothed religion and crucified grandmother trees. Yet the kids grow optimistic and shamanistic. They see ancestors in the mist. They wait for new patches of blue under canopy of dancing branches. They anticipate warmer winds and watch magic expand. I tell the kids, the powers that be don't want you to meditate. They don't want you to stop spending or stop taking drugs and a new flavored drink. They don't want you to read or think or stop watching sports or the war on your screens. They don't want you to stop playing first-person shooter games. They don't want you to question the system or tradition. They don't want you to vote or toss your remote. They don't want you to live off the grid or conquer your crutch. They don't want you to make too much or too little. They don't want you to stop trying. They don't want you to try too hard. They don't want you to think for yourself or worry about the suffering of others. They don't want you to veer or truly care. Too many powers that be don't want you to be anything more than clones of each other. I curse and glorify the past. Feel too much, too deep, too fast. Nothing that was will ever last. The good old days feel like a maze, and I'm lost in the age of remembering. I recall a time before seatbelts and airbags and plastic bags and plastic surgery and plastic razors and plastic pollution, before everything became disposable, including people. I remember when the good times were great. Movies cost $0.25 with at least one cartoon per feature. Baseball cards were 5 cents a pack and a chance to pull mantle or maze. When kids climbed trees, built forts, and made friends face to face. Our parents always kicked us outside on summer days and told us to come home before dinner when no one had a cell phone or analog watch. We watched the angle of the sun. I remember when cowboys were kings and we couldn't wait for tomorrow because everything was better in the future. No sickness, no war, no crime, no poverty, no recession, no deep depression of any kind. And we still believed in better living through chemistry. Ford still had a better idea, and Coca-Cola taught the world to sing. I can't lose these nostalgia blues. Old Seahorse says, the game's on the line and we're getting down to crunch time. The kids laugh and say, we're not like you, we're built different. We got the world on a string. Old Seahorse replies, your string theory is too literal to contain quantum. Oh, we can still party in the aquarium of quantum, they reply. Old Seahorse says, remember your heart connection to Mother Earth. And one of the kids says, if everyone's connected, why do I feel so alone? Old Seahorse says, the planet is melting, yet creation remains wave and vibration. Wave and vibration. Dive in the ocean, bathe in the forest, contemplate sky. Everything passes, but nothing good ever dies. Nothing good ever dies. So what do you know about love? The kids threaten. Then add with a twist of the knife, you've been divorced 2 times. I tell them you learn more about love after your heart's been broken, because that's when it grows the most. You just can't glue and patch and pump it up like a punctured tire, then roll obliviously happy up Main Street again. You need to hurt and bleed and babble into bottles or howl at the reflection of the moon in your tears. Take more time than you think you need to break and ache. Mend and meditate. Carve out the hooks and barbs. Sever the cords of words and bonds. Lick your ego wounds and glide past opaque gloom. No secret equation will give you an all-clear prediction. Eventually you realize love moves in one direction. Love can only expand. And then you'll know love needs somewhere to go and maybe someone to receive. I remember when Animal Farm was still a kid's book, and 1984 was so far in the future it could never happen to us. When I thought 30 was over the hill and 16 mature. I remember the late 60s, and we all knew the revolution arrived. But then, suddenly the system dangled their golden carrots, and all the good ideas got swallowed up by corporate armies in a race to the bottom for the bottom line. I remember a time before leaf blowers, electric lawnmowers, fake wood floors in dollar stores, because then they were all called 5 and dimes. When a dime was worth $1 and $1 an hour was a living wage, I can't lose these nostalgic blues. Sometimes the kids need to talk and the parents just need to listen. No judgment, no advice, no problem, no solution. No politics in the tricks tonight. Just make room to make room. Let deeper thoughts into the dome. Remove those alarm clock blocks, clear those spam-fueled log jams, flush that blackout doubt, move your blah to the trash and empty your ashtray cache. Delete those piles of angry loops, and everyone moves lucidly, fluently, beautifully forward and onward. No crucifix in the mix tonight. Nothing to predict or fix tonight. Make time to empty, make room to make room, to love and forgive with permission. Sometimes the kids just need to talk, and the parents just need to listen. I curse and glorify the past. Feel too much, too deep, too fast. Nothing that was will ever last. The good old days feel like a maze, and I'm lost in the age of remembering. recall when penmanship was a major subject. Cars didn't drive themselves, and little kids believed Santa's elves made all the toys. I remember when old people complained about the inconvenience of online shopping. When postmen were heroes, delivering plastic treasures from popsicle wrapper coupon catalogs and cereal box tops before computers, cookers, hooters, and spam, when comic book mail orders sold us sea monkeys and x-ray specs and Bavarian cuckoo clock barometers made in Japan, before power tools and Powerball and solar power and PowerPoint, power bars, before Legos we built with wood blocks, popsicle sticks, Lincoln logs, and Tinker toys. I can't lose these nostalgic blues. Well, this is the age of accelerated change. 3D printers and virtual reality, quantum computers and artificial intelligence that run circles around our tribal minds. But the kids don't seem worried. They chuckle and choose more screen time. Their wavy, vibrating universe of robotic dance for a giant video game. Seems only geezers muse nostalgic for the personal music of cursive, making meals from scratch, holding hands with an analog lover, and walking the pathless path between forest trees. Now science fiction is science fact, and present evidence is piling up. Used to be only elders knew how far was too far past the point of no return. Does memory play tricks on me? Soften the blows and blur the lines, obscure the clouds and distort the deed, exploit experience and fuzzy the focus via hippocampus hocus pocus. Does truth get twisted, convicted, tilted, and bent out of seahorse shape? Do we only imagine our own symmetry? Is function, fate, and form a body of shape-shifting synchrony? Has anyone ever seen a memory? Do memories even happen? Or are they another trick of the light? Are they stored in the brain, or do we carry them hidden in the cloud of our hearts? Are they perpetual expectations, approximations, and abstractions that can never be? Nothing stops changing or aging. Nothing bluffing about always becoming, especially in this digital simulation. Ones and zeros get caught up in the chaos, get lost in the shuffle, get misplaced by the haste of a quick cut and paste in the great kerfuffle of retrieval. I remember when failure was not an option. Winning was the only thing, and nice guys finished last. I remember when more pollution wasn't the solution. Healthcare was healthy without a surplus of side effects, of dying didn't break your bank. When apple pie was served with cheese, and the average guy on an average wage could afford a house in the burbs, and that was enough to keep moving upward. When a new car cost less than $5,000, when obsolescence wasn't the first plan. When the whole wide world was still a big place, before humans saw the first picture of Earth from outer space. I curse and glorify the past. Feel too much, too deep, too fast. Nothing that was will ever last. The good old days feel like a maze, and I'm lost in the age of remembering. Does data have a shelf life? We can't count on numbers forever. Even the meaning of symbols evolves. I remember when infinity was so much bigger. Infinity plus one. And that great spreading shade tree in the garden gnome yard of my second childhood home. once a budless three-branched twig in the vast mud of creation. Yes, yes, we breathe in every tense, all thoughts, actions, and reveries. We collect and mix in waves of partial equation, then exhale the best memories for restoration. Those personal historic times that bind and connect us to make us who we think we are or have been, or even remember who we still could become. Did any of my life ever happen? Do we merely dream the dreamer for another? And does it really matter? As long as we share the same air with 10,000 generations. As long as we share the same air with 10,000 generations. They say everything gets better 20 years after the tears have dried.